I have seen men tremble not from pain, but from uncertainty. I have seen armies retreat not because the enemy was stronger, but because confusion cracked their formation from within. And I have seen victory granted to the one who simply stood still, while others lost themselves to noise. Power is not always loud. It is not always force. It is often the man who moves least when chaos moves most. Calm is not a mood. It is not the absence of pressure. Calm is a weapon, sharpened by preparation, wielded by restraint. On the battlefield, the dust rises, horses scream, orders clash, the terrain shifts, blood soaks the soil faster than water. You cannot control the storm. You can only control your breath within it. That is where I found my edge, not in louder commands, not in superior weapons, but in stillness. I watched commanders bark, yell, panic. I watched soldiers twitch, flinch, break rank over rumors. I saw empires fall not because they lacked numbers, but because they lacked clarity under pressure. And so, I trained myself to remain still while others sprinted, to observe while others reacted, to breathe when others held their breath. This is not detachment. It is command. You cannot command others until you can command yourself. When chaos erupts, on the battlefield, in your business, in your family, in your soul, the world looks for anchors. It looks for someone who will not be swayed by wind or wave. That man becomes the reference point. That man becomes the general, even if he has no title, because he holds what no one else can under pressure, direction. And so I say this. When chaos strikes, don't aim to fight it. Don't aim to outrun it. Aim to become still enough to read it. Because chaos reveals more than it destroys. It tells you what people fear. It tells you who is truly disciplined. It tells you where real power lives. And if you are calm, if you are clear, you will see what others miss. The gap, the misstep, the overextension, the opportunity. Victory often comes not from the first strike, but from the first moment of stillness in a storm. Not the man who acts first, but the one who waits until others reveal themselves. When the world is on fire, do not become smoke. Become stone. Your presence alone becomes a message. Let them scream. Let them rush. Let them burn energy. You stay ready. Because when you finally move, you will not just act. You will dominate. Be calm around chaos. That is real power. When I say, be calm around chaos, I do not mean retreat. I do not mean avoidance. I mean becoming unshakable in the face of disruption. Because disruption is not a curse. It is the purest test of command. Most men want to appear strong, but the desire to appear strong is a weakness itself. They shout in meetings. They overcompensate in crises. They mistake volume for vision and panic for presence. True presence makes no noise. When others run in circles, the calm one becomes the center. People begin orbiting around him, not because he asks them to, but because stillness attracts structure, like gravity pulling planets into place. And so I trained for storms, not in storms, but before them. I would sit in silence. Long hours with nothing but my breath and my thoughts. Not to escape battle, but to master it. Because when the storm came, I did not want to think. I wanted to see. Clarity is what disappears first in chaos. Panic does not come from the problem. It comes from not knowing what to do with it. So I simplified my reactions. 1. Breathe. 2. Observe. 3. Decide only when the dust begins to settle. Because the first to react is often the first to err. The one who waits, even half a moment longer, sees the truth behind the illusion. The loudest moment is often a distraction. The most urgent voice is often the least informed. The real signal is buried under noise. So I ignored noise, not out of ignorance, but by design. You must understand, chaos is a strategy. It is not always accidental. Your enemies will manufacture it. Markets will exaggerate it. Emotions will amplify it. But only the undisciplined are pulled by its current. I became the dam in a flood. I did not try to stop the water, I simply redirected it. Because when others lose control, they give away power. And the one who remains calm collects it all. You must ask yourself, what breaks your calm? A missed opportunity? A harsh word? A betrayal? Uncertainty? Whatever it is, that is the lever your enemies will use. If your calm is breakable, your power is borrowed. If your calm is permanent, your power is permanent. And so, I did not just study war. I studied myself. What could make me flinch? What rumor could shake me? What loss could confuse me? Then I trained for those things, not to eliminate emotion, but to lead it. Emotion is a soldier. It needs a general. If it leads you, you will lose. If you lead it, you will win. I learned to feel fully, but act selectively. And that is how I walked through burning cities with peace in my chest. Because I understood, the world will burn around you. People will scream, systems will fall, reputation will shift, fortunes will rise and collapse in a single season. But your breath? That is yours. If you control it, you control your timing. And if you control your timing, you will always find advantage. Chaos is not to be feared. It is to be studied, then sculpted. But you must be calm enough to do both. Stay still. Let them overreact. Let them misread. Let them reveal. Because when the battlefield is dust and fire, calm becomes the only true clarity. Be that clarity. There is a reason I do not speak much in war councils. When voices rise to assert dominance, I let them. When tempers flare to prove conviction, I observe in silence. Because real conviction doesn't burn out. It doesn't need to yell. It waits. It holds. It sees what others rush past. In every war I fought, the first phase was not swords. It was sound. The noise of opinions, the clash of egos, the urgency of fear. I watched strong men break in those early hours, not on the field, but in their minds. They thought decisiveness was about quick movement, but speed without clarity is just a faster collapse. So I built my strategy differently. Before I led others, I learned to not be led by fear, by the crowd, by momentum, because momentum is dangerous when you don't know the direction. The generals who won by force often lost the next war, because they never learned to win by stillness. I chose a different path. When chaos started, when spies whispered false moves, when allies doubted, when plans cracked under pressure, I didn't talk louder. I narrowed my focus, not on what was lost, not on what might happen, but on what was certain in that moment. There is always something you can see clearly, even in chaos. Start from that. It may be a small truth, a supply line still intact, a soldier who hasn't fled, a weakness in the enemy's movement. Start there. Expand. Panic comes from scanning everything at once. Clarity comes from anchoring to one thing, then building out. Like starting a fire in the rain, you shield the first spark. You protect it, you grow it, then it lights everything else. Your mind works the same. When overwhelmed, don't try to solve everything. Solve one piece, master one breath, anchor one decision. Then let the calm grow, because panic is exponential, but so is clarity. I have walked into tents where men were ready to surrender, their eyes frantic, their words chaotic, their maps marked with despair. I did not offer them hope. I did not say, "We will win." I said, "Breathe." Then I asked the right question, not, "What do we do?" but "What do we know?" Truth always exists, even in confusion. Find it, speak it, hold it. That's the first strike of strategy, finding calm in what is real. Because from reality, you can draw direction. From noise, you only find distraction. If you build your decisions on distraction, your empire will collapse from within. But if you build them on calm, on anchored, disciplined observation, then even if you lose the battle, you keep your power. Because power is not always in victory. It's in how you lose, how you adapt, how you respond, and those who respond with calm, they always get another chance. They outlast. Because chaos doesn't stay forever. It burns fast. It exhausts itself. But calm regenerates. Calm prepares. Calm listens. And when the next opportunity comes, when the dust settles, when the field quiets, calm is the only one with the strength left to move. So when you feel chaos rising around you, remember, don't join it, don't fight it, outlast it, and you'll own what's left behind. The strongest warriors I knew were not the ones who swung hardest. They were the ones who chose when not to swing. They waited, sometimes longer than their pride wanted, longer than their allies understood. And when they moved, it was final. There is no greater force than deliberate timing, and timing belongs to the calm. I remember one campaign, northern border, winter winds cutting like blades. We were outnumbered. Our supplies were weeks from reinforcement. The enemy lit fires across the hills, trying to make us believe they were closing in. My men looked to me. Should we move? Should we attack first? Should we retreat? I said nothing, because I saw the fires, but I also saw the smoke. It moved too evenly. Too clean. The enemy wanted us to move, to panic, to reposition, to reveal our flank. But they hadn't moved. Only their fire had. So I waited. Hours passed. The men whispered. The junior officers questioned my resolve. Still I waited. Then the scouts returned. The fires were decoys. The real troops had not advanced at all. Had we rushed, we would have left our terrain advantage. Had we attacked, we would have walked into a trap. Calm saved us. Not logic alone, not numbers, not strength, just calm. Because calm is not passive. It is active restraint. It is the conscious refusal to be pulled by urgency. Urgency is often the enemy's greatest weapon. Make your opponent believe there is no time, and he will trip over his own steps. Make him believe he must act now, and he will act before he is ready. That is why I never race to strike. I let others declare their speed. Then I become the pause that changes the outcome. People confuse chaos for momentum, but chaos doesn't move forward. It spreads. Like fire, it looks powerful, but it consumes its own fuel. Eventually, it dies. If you don't feed it with your fear, your voice, your reaction, it starves. That is how you turn the tide without moving a muscle. And I say this to you, not just for war, but for life. Your relationships will face chaos. Your business will face uncertainty. Your inner world will face storms. You do not need to match the intensity. You need to manage the meaning. What does chaos mean to you? Is it a sign of failure? A reason to run? Or is it a signal to pause, to watch, to find your leverage? Most people miss their advantage not because it's hidden, but because they are too loud to hear it. Stillness is how you find signal in noise. Stillness is how you distinguish false urgency from real opportunity. Let the world rush. Let them spin in circles. You tighten your formation, clear your thoughts, shorten your decisions to what matters now. This doesn't mean ignore the storm. It means become the eye of it. That's where vision lives. That's where victory is born. I once said to a young commander, trembling at the edge of battle, Your heartbeat is not the drum of war. Do not let it dictate your pace." He looked at me, confused, but I saw what was happening inside him. He was no longer fighting an enemy. He was fighting his own response to the unknown, and losing. This is the war most people never train for, the war within, the one that begins when the world turns unpredictable. Chaos outside reveals chaos inside. And unless you've met it before, unless you've built stillness in silence, it will own you. The calm I speak of is not born in the middle of fire. It is cultivated in the cold hours when no one is watching. When there is no threat, yet you rehearse your breath. When there is no decision, yet you study your mind's reaction. When there is no pressure, yet you build the habit of clarity. This is what makes men untouchable, not armor, not strength, but internal formation. I do not expect you to be emotionless. I expect you to know your emotions well enough not to serve them blindly, because in chaos, emotion speaks first, but wisdom speaks quieter. You must build enough space inside you to hear it. I have stood before collapsing markets, crumbling alliances, betrayals from those closest to me, and I did not act on the first wave. I let it wash through me. Then I chose. Because reaction is impulse, response is intelligence, and power, real power, belongs to the one who chooses, not the one who reacts. You must learn to separate event from meaning. Most suffering is not from the chaos itself, but from the story we attach to it too quickly. This means I've lost. This means I'm weak. This means I must act now. These thoughts flood the mind like smoke. You must learn to pause, to ask, is this true? Who benefits from me believing this? What is the move if I do not rush? There is always a move in stillness, but you must be still long enough to see it. I trained my officers in silence as much as I trained them in drills, because the real battlefield is perception, and he who can remain still in the storm is the one who can see where it's headed. The enemy may look strong now. The noise may seem deafening, but all storms pass. What matters is who remains formed after the wind dies. Your job is not to prevent chaos. Your job is to remain unaltered by it, because the world is not calm. Markets are not calm. People are not calm. So your calm becomes a rare currency, a competitive edge, a source of gravity. Leaders are not followed because they know everything. They are followed because they don't collapse when others do. And I promise you, if you build this calm, you will be sought in storms. People will look for your eye contact when the room shakes. They will mirror your posture. They will borrow your breath. And in that moment, your calm will not only protect you, it will guide others. You will win without raising your voice. You will conquer without swinging a sword, because stillness is not passive. Stillness directs the flow of power. Calm is not just about surviving the moment. It's about owning what comes after. You see, chaos eventually dies. It burns fast, like dry wood in a sudden flame. But what's left, what remains, is shaped by the calm. And the calm are the ones who write history. I have watched the tides of empire shift, not by battles, but by reactions to crisis. The fall of a kingdom rarely begins on the battlefield. It begins in a room filled with leaders who could not keep their minds steady. They misread one signal. They rushed one command. They feared what had not yet happened, and in doing so, they made it happen. The wise commander does not fear uncertainty. He knows uncertainty is the most powerful terrain for leverage, because when others are blind, the one who sees gains everything. And sight is born in calm, never in panic. I want you to look at your own life now. Think of the last time things went wrong. Not mildly wrong, terribly wrong. The kind of wrong that spins your compass, makes your chest tighten, your thoughts scatter. Now ask, what did you do? Did you pause? Or did you rush? Did you hold ground? Or did you chase ground already lost? And more importantly, did your reaction restore power or leak it? You see, most people are not defeated by external forces. They are defeated by their response to them. They abandon calm too early, and with it, they abandon control. Let me tell you something many fear to admit. You can be terrified and still act with clarity. You can feel everything and still move like a commander. Because calm is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to be governed by it. I have walked into situations with no guarantee of survival, but I never brought panic with me. Because once you carry panic into a place, it spreads, like rot in wood, like a crack in a wall. Once it enters, everything you've built becomes unstable. So I built my walls first, with silence. I fortified them with breath. And when chaos came, it found nothing to cling to. The storm raged, but it raged outside me. That is how you must walk through the world, because the world will test you. It will throw noise at your ears, urgency at your schedule, betrayal at your trust, and collapse at your progress. Let it. Let it all come. You do not win by avoiding the chaos. You win by standing unchanged in the middle of it. There is a power in the man who doesn't blink when others close their eyes. There is strength in the one who slows down when others speed up. Because his decisions are not taken from him. And that is real power. I have often been asked, how do you remain so calm when everything falls apart? And I tell them, because I expect it to fall apart. Not out of pessimism, but out of realism. I do not trust calm that only survives comfort. I trust the calm that survives collapse. And the way to build it is to walk into uncertainty willingly, to rehearse the feeling of instability, to expose yourself to variables, then remain steady. Most train for perfection. I train for interruption, because the man who only functions in control is not in control. He is dependent on the environment behaving, but the environment never behaves for long. So I learned to become the one constant. In shifting alliances, in unpredictable weather, in sudden betrayal, in moral confusion, I remained me. And the world in time bent to that. You see, calm is not just strength, it is influence. In war, I noticed something curious. The calm soldier often reshaped the entire unit, not through speech, not through rank, but through presence. He didn't flinch, so others didn't flinch. He didn't react, so others waited before reacting. Calm is contagious, just as panic is, but only one builds something that lasts. And this does not only apply to soldiers. This applies to how you handle your business when plans fall through, to how you respond when your name is slandered, to how you face health news that shakes your routine, to how you move when markets drop 20% in a week. Will you be the ripple or the rock? It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about knowing that your identity doesn't rise and fall with the moment. Most people are loyal to how they feel in a moment. I became loyal to my strategy. I did not serve my fear. I did not serve my frustration. I served my mission. And because of that, my calm had a foundation. It wasn't built on affirmations. It was built on alignment. I knew who I was. I knew what I was here to do. And no amount of chaos could rewrite that. That is what made my presence feel unshakable. Because I was not waiting for things to calm down. I was already calm. And so, the world had no choice but to notice. You do not win by controlling everything. You win by being the thing that chaos cannot control. If you can be that, you become untouchable. Not because you have no enemies, but because no enemy can dictate your formation. And that is the foundation of a strategist. When I stood at the edge of a battlefield, I didn't just see terrain and troops. I saw tempo, the rhythm of the army, the cadence of the chaos, the pulse of the unfolding moment. Every event has its rhythm, and if you are calm enough, you can hear it. This is why most people miss their moment. They are too loud inside to feel what is happening outside. They overstep. They speak too soon. They draw swords before the opponent has even reached. Timing is the currency of the calm. Those who rush burn fuel before the real fight begins. Those who wait, strategically, not lazily, preserve power until it matters. In silence, I learned to hear patterns others could not. Not just in movement, but in emotion. An army moves with emotions it cannot name. So does a business. So does a family. So does a man. Your job as a strategist is not to suppress emotion. It is to understand its shape and then move when its wave peaks. I used to walk the camp late at night when soldiers slept, but fear lingered. I listened not to their words, but their silence. The pace of breath intense, the subtle shift in body language before dawn. I learned more from stillness than any report. The ones who would break always revealed themselves in calm, because calm exposes the untrained. And I knew. If I wanted to win wars, I had to win before the clash. And that meant mastering the terrain of tension long before the swords met. This is why I tell you, do not prepare only for battle. Prepare for the hour before battle, the hour where doubt whispers, where fear speaks with the voice of reason, where chaos begins quietly. Because if you can be calm there, if you can hold your line not with force, but with breath, then when the storm rises, you will not be adjusting. You will be leading. Leadership is not about telling others what to do. It is about being the one who doesn't waver, so others remember what stillness looks like. When you carry calm into a chaotic room, you reset its temperature. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer. You command not with tone, but with presence, not with panic, but with posture. And that posture must be built in practice. You must practice standing still in chaos. You must rehearse silence while others speak over each other. You must learn to smile with truth while others manipulate with urgency. This is how you win negotiations. This is how you win trust. This is how you win wars without starting them, because true power isn't loud. It isn't reactive. It isn't rushed. True power is precise because it has waited. Waited to see the mistake. Waited to find the weakness. Waited for others to reveal themselves fully. And while they danced in uncertainty, you stood. You stood calm. You stood aware. You stood ready. And when the time came, you moved once. And that was enough. In the art of war, the fiercest storms are rarely the ones outside. They are the ones that begin within you. The moment you doubt yourself, the moment your vision fogs, the moment you respond to fear as if it were fact. That is when the enemy wins without even drawing near. This is why calm is not decoration. It is defense. And not just any defense, it is the last wall between you and collapse. Your army may falter, your wealth may shrink, your support may vanish. But if your calm remains, you still possess the most critical asset, judgment. When all else fails, your judgment becomes your compass. And judgment is sharpened, not by knowledge, but by stillness. Stillness before action. Stillness before speech. Stillness before surrender. I have watched kings lose everything because they reacted from fear of perception. One letter arrived from an enemy, and they unraveled their alliances. One rumor spread, and they changed course. They feared not what was real, but what was possible. This is where the chaos wins, not in what it does, but in how it changes you. So I trained my soul for war before my sword. I trained to be the same man, whether in a palace or a prison, whether honored or ignored, whether in power or in the shadows. Because when you are the same in all conditions, you are free from them. And this is the great secret of command. He who does not need the moment to feel secure controls the moment. You are no longer playing their game. You are setting the tempo, choosing the terms, defining the war, because your calm is not fragile. It does not need reassurance. It is built on formation, on identity chosen, not granted. Most people think peace is the reward for surviving chaos. They are wrong. Calm is not the result of order. It is the creator of it. You bring it into the room. You bring it into the chaos. And from that calm, you shape what happens next. That is why I would often delay decisions, not out of hesitation, but discipline. Delay not to escape, but to see. Because most truths reveal themselves in the second wave, not the first. The first wave is noise, emotion, distortion. The second wave is pattern, reality, signal. Only the calm are still present to meet the second wave. The rest have already acted, already spent, already fallen. So I waited. I let others waste energy on the illusion. I kept mine for the truth. And when that truth arrived, I struck once. Not because I was slow, but because I was patient enough to know when the strike would matter. This is the edge calm gives you. You act less, but each act echoes farther. You were not born to flinch. You were not born to scatter in wind, to break at noise, to echo the panic of the crowd. You were born to command, not just others, but yourself, your breath, your vision, your decisions when the world no longer makes sense. Calm is not passive. It is not inaction. It is the highest form of readiness. It is movement without being moved. It is the strength to see clearly when the battlefield is smoke. I built my calm not for peace, but for war. Because the calm man does not lose himself in conflict. He multiplies. He absorbs the energy of the moment and transforms it into precision. That is why so many feared me before I ever raised a blade. Because I was already what they were trying to become. Steady while they were unstable. Composed while they were confused. Certain while they were scattered. This is the power you must build. And it is built in ordinary hours. In how you respond to delays, to insults, to moments when everything urges you to rush, to retaliate, to collapse. Do not surrender your posture, because every time you hold your calm, you harden your formation. And every time you give it away, you weaken your command. The world respects calm more than confidence, because confidence can be faked. But calm must be earned through repetition, through restraint, through 1,000 small decisions no one sees. And so I ask you this. When the next wave of chaos comes, will it find you calm? When the next rumor spreads, will you hold position? When the pressure rises, will you lead yourself before leading others? Because that is the only kind of power that survives time. Not inherited, not borrowed, not screamed into existence, but quietly built, slowly formed, deliberately held, like a sword that does not leave its sheath unless the strike is certain. If you become this, you will not need to prove power. You will become the reason others remember what power looks like. In a noisy world, be the silence that commands it. In a chaotic war, be the calm that shapes it. Because real power is never loud. It's calm, unbreakable, unmoved, undeniable.